Welcome to the LA Business Podcast, a forum for business owners and senior executives to share the experiences about the elements that drive their success. Your host is Robert Brill, CEO of Brill Media.co, an Inc. 500 company delivering the power of hyperlocal advertising. Robert writes for Forbes, Inc. and ad trade publications. Our goal is to bring you the stories about successes and failures of people who are making big things happen in marketing, entrepreneurship, and management.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the LA Business Podcast. This time we're doing something just a little bit different. A few weeks ago I had a really great interview with Maksym Babych. He's in Ukraine. He has a company called SPD Load, and the website is spdload.com. Sailor, Padlock, Dalmatian, so spdload.com. Maksym recorded the podcast, which you can also see on YouTube, and we talk about how Brill Media came to be and our entrepreneurial journey. I had a really great time talking to Maksym. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Talk to you guys soon.
So, hi everyone. Today we have a guest from America. He's CEO of Brill Media, Robert. Robert, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Max.
Yeah, I really appreciate for your time, for jumping on this call, and that you decided to share with me, with our audience, with other potential entrepreneurs from US, your insight, how to be more successful, how to build business, stuff like this.
Happy to be here and really interested to connect with you and your audience.
Yeah, thanks. So, my first question will be, you are studying business administration at university. Was it your dream to become with your own business?
Yeah, I was just talking about this with my wife over the weekend. I did. I've been wanting to be an entrepreneur for a long time. I just didn't know what to do. And I remember having a conversation with a colleague in college when we were graduating from school. And he was telling me all these big ideas he had about going into being, his focus was being his own boss. And I was like, okay, well, so what do you do? And I didn't know what to do. So when I was 23 or 22 when I graduated from college, I didn't know what I was going to do in that process. So I went to work. I graduated, I got a bachelor's degree in business administration, and then I went to work at ad agencies. And I spent 12 years working at ad agencies until I saw this really golden opportunity to start my own business and understand the ins and outs and the nuances of running an advertising business. And I had the opportunity to learn from some of the best and brightest minds in the advertising business. I learned about business models, and I learned about how to communicate with clients. There's a lot that I didn't know, but I knew just enough to kind of let me feel like I was not going to be a massive failure. But it was still an incredibly scary moment to start my business when I did it in 2013.
Okay, got it. And could you tell me a little bit more about your business? What is the main idea of Brill Media?
Yeah, the thesis for our business is advertise like a Fortune 500 brand without spending a fortune. We make it so that our brands don't have those minimum spend requirements. We absorb those large spends, and the goal here is for a brand that's spending between $25,000 a month and $100,000 a month in advertising, you too can have access to those massive tools without having to sign an agreement where you guarantee that you have to spend millions of dollars with a single tool. The goal for our business is every dollar you spend, that an advertiser spends with us, it needs to be tied back to a sale, a lead that's been generated, foot traffic, someone saw our ad and walked into our client's like restaurant or location. We specialize in hyper-local advertising. And so the idea is anything you might imagine is available in digital marketing, we make available without the ridiculously high costs that are normally associated with these really valuable tools.
Okay. You haven't used investment, but you are bootstrapping company. And I have some funny question. When you spent a lot of money for your own, like, I have one first million contract, I will buy a car, or you try to reinvest own company?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I'm not a particularly fancy guy. Like, I'm not into cars. I'm not into expensive watches. I mean, really, as an individual, I come from humble beginnings. My mother still lives in the apartment that we grew up in. She never bought a home. She emigrated from Romania, as did my father. They met here. So I'm the first generation child born in the United States from two people who emigrated to America for a better life. So my responsibility growing up was, don't mess this up. Like, don't do things that, because there's no fallback. Like, I'm not going to inherit any money. Like, when my father passed away, it's sort of a joke and it's sort of just a thing. Like, it's almost like a little bit of a badge of honor. Like, I inherited pies. Like, there's no money there. So there's no backup for me. A lot of people in this country, they have backup. They have parents or grandparents who own property, who might give them money when they pass on. I have none of that. So there was no other option. Either make it, as 50 Cent likes to say, get rich or die trying, whatever. And I'm not rich, but we're still working on that. So when I have my business, it was like I'm much more. My financial profile is actually very risk averse, so I feel comfortable having money in the bank, and so I spent the money to grow the business, and I spent the money to have money in the bank. And at some point, my wife and I were fortunate enough to be able to buy a very modest home in the San Fernando Valley here in Los Angeles.
In listing, I found that her company has a revenue around $4 million in past year. What is your aim for next year in 2020?
Yeah, so this year we spent a lot of time refining our process, right? So we grew super fast last year. This year we said, okay, with that growth, what are the things that need to happen so that every person within the organization knows what they need to do to operate a campaign? And so we're a much different and much more organized organization today in October 2019 than we were in January of 2019. What it looks like for 2020 is propelling that growth further through sales, right? So a much more aggressive stance on marketing, on advertising for our company, and using various social media and sales tactics to increase our profile and generate new opportunities. And that's what we're focusing on. And so, I mean, look, who knows what those numbers will be? We're looking to increase anywhere from 20 to 50%. It might be more than that. And we'll really know it's going to be a big year this coming year.
Okay, thanks. And could you recommend some books, what you would like to recommend for young entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. So I have to do a little bit of searching. I listen to audiobooks, so a lot of this stuff I consumed as audio. There are three people who I'm very interested in. James Altucher, he interviews through podcasts, executive. I think that's interesting because you get a diverse point of view on knowledge and success at the very highest level. So from a podcasting perspective, James Altucher. I listened to a couple books by Grant Cardone. The one that really spoke to me and just my personality is Be Obsessed or Be Average. And Be Obsessed or Be Average was really this idea that, like, if you're going to do something, like, do it in a way that you'll have no regrets when you're older. There is no work-life balance. There's going all in. If you know you're interested in something, doing it all the way. and being obsessed about it, and being obsessed about the results, and being obsessed about the business, and being obsessed about and harnessing the passion that a person has for the thing that you're doing, right? There's also a variety of books, Sell or Be Sold, The 10X Rule, and various Gary Vaynerchuk books, Jab, 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 Right Hook.
Maybe you also could say a few words for young entrepreneurs, what they must do, what they shouldn't do.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much. I mean, some of the things that I've learned along the way, I'm thinking about myself when I was in 2013 to 2015. I had to learn the hard way, and it cost me money and time to figure out what business I really wanted to do. And so sometimes I tell people really focus on one thing. But then other times I'm thinking you can't focus on the one thing until you know that's the one thing you should be doing. I was just at a conference yesterday and I heard a really interesting speech from Gene Simmons, the lead singer of Kiss. And, he was like, just try everything. Gene Simmons, really fascinating fellow. He emigrated from he was born in Israel. His mother is a Hungarian immigrant. His mother at 14, I think, was in the Nazi concentration camp. So very different life and sees opportunities and when he was growing up, he worked at I think the Puerto Rican consulate. He worked as a bag boy at a bodega in New York, and then he tried, as he called it, this music thing. And obviously we know that's the thing that he built his name on. But you're never going to know the thing you're good at until you try a variety of things. And in that vein, when I was, because, I mean, to fund, I went to school at Cal State Northridge, and I don't know how much it cost, but it was relatively inexpensive. I had some financial aid, and my grandma, whatever was left over, my grandma actually paid for to my mom, and my mom paid the school. And so my grandma effectively financed my ability to go to college. And because of that, I had to work, right? I still had to work to have some money in my pocket. So I probably had like 5 or 6 jobs during college, maybe more, doing a variety of things. And I actually learned a lot. I actually had a job working for a startup advertising company where I learned what advertising is. And it's quite possible that I would never be in advertising today had I not had that one, like, I made $10 an hour making phone calls internship. But I learned so much there that I often think it's a shame when kids come out of college and they haven't had any jobs, because you get to learn what you like and what you don't like. Like, I had a job for an entrepreneur who was a value-added reseller for manufacturing, and the company was called like Manufacturing Business Systems. I think his name was Herbert Milano. Really nice guy. I didn't love the business. But I learned things about it, and I was like, okay, between advertising, which sounds really interesting, and this other thing which I wasn't really that interested in, I had formulated some point of view about which way I wanted to go. So as an entrepreneur, like, you want to know which way you want to go, and if you're not sure, test a variety of different things and see which one you're most passionate about, because you have, like, the thing that's going to get you through the hard times is your love and your obsession for the thing that you're doing. So if you're doing it just for the money, that's cool, but the minute you hit a hard time, like it's just not going to be interesting to you. You're not going to have the willpower to move forward with it. So it has to be something you know and you love, and you really won't know that until you try a variety of things. You know what you don't like, and you know what you do like. And in a lot of ways, it's like dating. You've got to figure out like who you are. That's one point of advice for young entrepreneurs.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, thank you, Max. I appreciate it. It was really great talking to you, and I hope we can keep in touch.
Yeah, thanks, Robert.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Robert.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the LA Business Podcast. If you like it, please share it with a friend. Listen on Apple and Google, subscribe, comment, share. We are building a community of business leaders who are taking the learnings from this podcast and doing great things with their businesses, scaling their businesses, growing in Los Angeles, in the United States, and all over the world. If you want to reach out to me, I'm Robert at brillmedia.co. Have a fantastic day.